Welcome to the 2014 Rebuild Homes Edmonton Open Squash Tournament here at the beautiful Royal Glenora Club. I'm Bedore, and with me is seven-time Canadian champion Shahier Razik. Welcome to Edmonton, Shahier.
Thanks, Tom.
I guess you know this club pretty well, though. I mean, you've most recently again became Canadian champion here at the Royal Glenora back in May of 2014. 7 times. You must like it here. You must like this club.
I do enjoy the club a lot. I do enjoy the courts here. The people in Edmonton, I've been coming here since I was a junior. So I always look forward to coming here and playing here. It's the tournament does a great job, and with the spectating and the atmosphere is good. Apart from the temperature outside, everything's great.
Well, we did okay in May. Now, unfortunately, the final was rather anticlimactic as your opponent, Andrew Schnell, had to pull out before the game was over.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. He's a young and up-and-comer, and I'm, the older, over-the-hill player, and sort of we came together at the finals of the Nationals, so a lot of people, including both of us, were looking forward to it, and I guess he came down with something the night before and just couldn't compete. It's too bad.
Too bad, but obviously good for you. I mean, here you are, a 7-time Canadian champion. Definitely not over the hill. I mean, I know you turned 37 last week, November 18th, I think it was.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
A day after that, perhaps one of your opponents in this tournament, Diego Elias, the Peruvian
That's right.
champion, turned 18. That's quite a big age gap.
He was in Toronto last week as well. We were training together, so we were having some laughs about that. That I was turning 37 and he was turning 18. Almost 20 years difference.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's good. It's a good contrast there between the two of us. He's coming in and I'm reaching the end, so it's interesting.
You say you're reaching the end. We don't want to hear that. You're 37 years old. Is it possible to play the Pro Tour
at
the
the
age of
by
40?
the end, it's the later stages. You got to go by numbers, and
Sure.
not a lot of guys play to that age. I'm still enjoying it. I'll still keep playing as long as I can, and as long as I'm still having a good time out there and have the time to do it. But you just got to be realistic about it. I'm not exactly at the early stages either.
You are kind of like the Roger Federer of squash. How have you managed to stay as healthy as you have? Because you've not had that many injuries.
I'm not quite sure if you can put me in the same bracket as Rogers, but I'll take it. No, luckily the body is holding up. I don't put too much strain on my body when I play squash. I'm not as I guess it's been my weakness, and also it's been one of the reasons I made it this far. I'm just not as explosive as some of the other guys are. When you're more explosive, you tend to put more impact on the body. So it's catching up to me now. It's good that it's something I struggled with through my younger days. I always wanted to be faster, more explosive, and maybe the fact that I didn't is why I'm still being able to play it at the same level, because I just haven't put as many hard lunges on the body.
Sure, yeah. Now, in addition to being a great ambassador for squash on the court, you've done a lot off the court in a lot of different ways. And recently with a company called Squash Revolution, I know a little bit about it. I know that you have some of the top players in the world part of your Squash Revolution, including Greg Gauthier and Emma Shabana. For people who don't know what Squash Revolution is, how would you describe
it? Squash Revolution is, it's a company between myself, Emma Shabana, Greg Gauthier, and our partner in Washington, Bedore. We sort of started it 4 or 5 years ago, just running a few camps and clinics here and there and exhibitions, and now it's we have 2 academies, one in Baltimore, one in Washington. We run about 12 junior tournaments every year, at least 3 to 4 pro events. Obviously, summer camps, clinics. We manage Greg and Shabana as well. So we kind of got our hands into everything, which is, for me, it definitely keeps me busy with trying to play the tournament as well, and then trying to manage all the other things. But it's fun to be in the squash business of things, and that's what I'm hoping to work my way into after. So we'll see where it takes me.
Fascinating. So I know one of the big things that you have in mind for the coming year, the coming season, is the Pan Am Games in 2015 in your hometown of Toronto. That's got to be very exciting for you to be representing your country again at an event like that in your hometown.
Absolutely, it gave me something to shoot for. To be honest, whenever I sort of was a bit down and maybe thinking about hanging it up, and you just look forward to that, and you're thinking about playing at home, and obviously in front of the home crowd, and the Pan Am Games is a big deal for us squash players, and I managed to win it in 2003, and it'd be great if I can repeat again, and or maybe at least medal in Toronto. It would be something exciting for sure.
Have you been a part of the push to get squash into the Olympics?
I think we all have been. All the players, we're constantly on the social media, and we're constantly talking about it. And whenever there's something to back up, we've always been there. And there's only so much we can do as players, obviously. But it was disappointing when at times, and we go through ups and downs every time we get our hopes up. Especially for me, I think over my career, I've been through at least 3 of those close calls, in London, and then Sydney, and then London, and now recently the last bit. So I'm not getting negative about it. I still think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Maybe not. I might not be around for that. Maybe Diego. But even hopefully I'll still be involved in the sport in some way, and be able to witness squash in the Olympics.
That must have been something to win a gold medal in the Pan Am Games, though, and you won a gold medal both individually and a team gold medal, I believe. Did you?
Yeah, in 2003 I won the individual, and then again with the team, so that was great. But since then, just team medals. So I haven't had great luck getting another individual medal. So I'm definitely keen to finish off my career with one of those.
How is that experience? I mean, squash is such an individual sport. How is the experience of playing on a team?
It's fun. It's still an individual sport because you're still out there on the court by yourself. But it's nice to have the team, in your corner, and everybody's sort of on the same schedule, same plan, because we tend to just do our own thing in squash. So the team event, it's great to have that support. We're not used to it, so it's something that we look forward to every couple of years at the World Teams, or every 4 years at the Pan Ams. It brings us together, especially that Canada's a big country, so it's nice. It's nice for us to come together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's great that you have decided to represent Canada, because you were born in Egypt.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
You still have Egyptian.
Yeah, I do. But Canada's really where my squash grown, and that's who I owe all my success to, right? So Egypt was definitely a major player in the early stages. That's where I got started and inspired to play. But when I came here, this is the system I followed, and they took me in, and I played for Canada since 1994 at the World Juniors.
It was kind of a good time to arrive in Canada for squash, I guess, with Jonathan Power and Graham Riding both riding the wave.
Absolutely, I think I got lucky in that sense. Those 2 players had a huge impact on my career. Not just on the court, or just off the court. They took me in, and they kind of, we became really close friends, and I learned a lot from them, just, about the game, and in general about life in Canada, right? I was new, and they were obviously more experienced. They gave me a hard time in the beginning, but it was all for the good.
It has been a bit, of a disappointment, I guess, for Canadian squash fans. Jonathan and Graham retired. Thank goodness we had you on the world stage. But other than you, I mean, there has been other players. I mean, Matthew Jufrey from Edmonton did well. He made it into the top 50. And there have been some others that have made it into the top 50, but no one that has been able to get into the top 20 of them.
I mean, Sean Deliere, he hovers in, he comes in and out of the top 40. He's pretty solid in that area, and he's been consistent. He hasn't been able to break through yet, but I think the Schnell brothers are coming. Andrew's looking pretty strong, and he's still very young. And I would give him a couple more years, and he can definitely be a threat out there, and for some top 30 players, and even higher if he puts his head into it.
Just back to Cairo again. Cairo is where you were born?
Yes.
How did you get introduced to squash?
Squash is like hockey in Canada. It's there's a lot of history and tradition, and a lot of kids get exposed to it at young ages. Like you try it, like swimming, running, tennis, squash, and it helps that there's a lot of great Egyptian players, right, that inspire these young kids. My dad he played for Egypt in his day, and he was number 2 in the country, and he competed at the British Open a few times. So obviously that transferred through, and then Egypt always played a role on the world stage and hosted the tournaments and world championships and things like that. So there was always it was always on the radar of young kids, and then it just exploded in the 90s when we had about 3 or 4 players that were in the top 10 at the same time, and that's all you need. The next thing is it's trickling down, and all the kids want to play squash, and that's what's happening now.
What happened to the tournament at the Pyramids? It was such an amazing venue to hold a squash tournament.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I mean, that's the most thing I get asked about squash. Everybody always brings that up, and it was spectacular. We hope it comes back. I think obviously there's, it's not always easy to put on an event like that. The cost, especially right there by the pyramids, it's a bit political too now, and they're becoming more protective of that whole area, and they're not as flexible as just having just events just run their show right there by the pyramids, and there's more guidelines and restrictions, so it's made it trickier. But obviously there's financial restrictions as well, and raising the money and the support. Obviously the country's not in a great state right now, but I think there's a market for it to come back. There's certainly no shortage of big names and big players that can draw in the fans. It's just, I think you need a solid promoter in there to come on board and bring a few parties together and make it happen again.
One would think it would happen. I mean, you alluded to the fact that the Egyptians are so strong in squash in the 21st century. I mean, it's unbelievable how many Egyptians are in the top 10 in the world, the top 20 in the world at any given time.
I think at one point this year there was half. I mean, there was 5 out of the top 10, and it's probably, I would say there's maybe 8 to 9 guys in the top 20, so it's closing in on 20%, 50% of the top 20.
Incredible.
Which is, yeah.
And in Cairo, you have one squash venue in particular that most of the players train on.
Yeah, I mean, Cairo is a very small place, so even though it might take you 5 hours to drive across because it's traffic, but the distance is very small. So anytime you have so many good players like that in such a small area, it's gonna do that. But there's 2 venues mainly, which is the Cairo Stadium, where a lot of the guys will meet there to train, and then there's a few different private clubs. Mainly the Gezira Club is the hub of the high level squash. It's just an easy facility to access. The location is easy. The courts are accessible. So most of the players, you'll find them there.
back to this tournament, the 2014 Rebuilt Homes Edmonton Open. Bigger this year. It's gone from a $15,000 tournament to a $35,000 tournament, which means we do have a higher caliber of player. Who are some of the players that you think are going to be really tough to beat in this tournament, both the qualifying and the main event?
I'd have to, you'd have to go for the top 2 seeds. Obviously, Tarek Mottman, he's number 9 in the world, and very, very strong player. And Simon Rosner, I believe number 12 or 11 in the world. I think those two will be the ones to beat. Yeah, there's some depth as well in the qualifying. A lot of Canadian players, which is good to see. But a couple of new up-and-comers, a few new names, which you always have to. It's always interesting to see those new players coming through. You've never heard of them, never seen them, right? And this event attracts players like that because it seems, in the qualifying, Edmonton is, because of its location, to come all the way from Europe or Asia, let's say, or Pakistan or Egypt. It's not that easy to get to. So for new players, qualifiers, it's a little risky. It's a little far to go. So it's not as easy. It always seems to attract new players, and like there's a few players here that I've never heard of. So I'm looking forward to watching them play and seeing what's coming up in the future.
The goal of organizers for this tournament is to move it back up to the $100,000 level that it was at a number of years ago when we had the tournament at the West Edmonton Mall. I don't know if that might have been before your time.
No, I was here. I believe it was 2 years in a row, and I was here in both years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nothing's before my time.
Yeah, what am I saying?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish it was before my time, but yeah, I mean that came through, and I think what happened is it came up too fast, and I just don't think the interest was there enough when you moved it from here to the West Edmonton Mall. It was just not ready. What they're doing here is just right. They've been building this up for a few years now, bigger every year, one step at a time, and I think when they're ready, they'll move it over. But until you're absolutely sure, I don't think there's any reason to leave this venue. It's a great venue. You can fit a good amount of people here. And yeah, I hope it'd be great to come back to Super Series level.
Right. Well, Shahier, you're a great Canadian champion and a great ambassador
You
for
too,
the
Tom.
sport.
You're a Canadian champion. Let's talk about that.
No, we won't talk about that. Only in my age group.
Okay. How many times?
How many times? I guess Canadian 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to get 4 more to catch up to me. So because remember, we have a deal, right?
That's right. We do have a deal.
You win, I win.
I love it. Yes. Thank you. Thanks so much, Shahier.